We are somehow already 3/4 through summer, which feels absolutely wild. So I thought this would be a perfect time to take a step back and go over some of the things that I've made this past season, as well as some spring makes sprinkled in there. And I look at what I loved, what could have worked out better, and of course the projects that didn't quite make the cut. For those of you who do not know, my name is Julie and this is The Curated Curvy, and on this channel, you and I, we journey through creating the curated wardrobe of my dreams with my own two hands. Without further ado, let's dive in and start with the projects that really got me excited this summer. Starting with this shirt here. This is a simplicity pattern. I am horrible at remembering the pattern number, so I'll always have that up on the screen for you. This pattern was paired with this peach skin, light hot pink. It's like a more of a bubblegum pink fabric that I picked up at Petra's in Dallas, Texas. This project was very specific. I made it for a sewing retreat that I attended in March, and a part of that retreat is like pajamas night. I'm not a pajamas girl. I don't wear pajamas, so I wanted to make something that would satisfy the pajama night theme, but that I could also wear like well beyond that evening as like everyday wear. If you are an adventurous and patient beginner, then this pattern is for you. The collar does not have a collar stand. It's sewn on, but the way that it's joined here through the button placket, if you mess it up, it's going to be very noticeable because it's not as structured of a shirt. The shirt also doesn't have a button placket, so you fold that over twice, which I feel like makes it more beginner friendly. The cuff here is also, the construction of it is relatively easy. However, you are required to like snip into the fabric and then fold it up and neatly stitch that down before attaching the cuff. You're also going to do some top stitching, maybe a little bit of understitching. While the techniques aren't very like difficult, they do require a little bit more precision if you want a polished looking garment in the end. The way that I've been styling this is as you see it now, or you can't see it, but I have on some shorts underneath and then just the shirt. I have like 2 buttons done, so it's pretty like open on the top and then open on the bottom, and it's just very, very comfortable. It's very easy to wear. I made this like early spring when it was still pretty cool, but I've worn it all through summer. Is it an ideal summer piece? Maybe not, but it works for me. As I stated, this was meant to be a pajama-like style pattern that would also transition into everyday wear. So I paired it with these shorts here. These are my babe shorts pattern. I don't even want to say the shorts are in development. They're just kind of on pause, but this is a pattern that I created myself, and it's just a really simple swing style short pattern, and I added a little ruffle just to give it a little bit of like cutesiness and frilliness for the evening time. The shorts come together really simply. I think I can make these in like 2 hours. It's just a couple of pattern pieces: your front waistband, your back waistband, your front short piece, and your back short piece. So I think about 4 pieces in all, and then I added this ruffle, which would be a 5th piece. In terms of how this came out, it came out a little bit longer than I was hoping that they would. I like a short, and the ruffle did add a little bit of length to the shorts. So now I feel like the proportions are just thrown off ever so slightly. So I find that when I am reaching for this, while I have worn it together as a set, I much prefer to pair it with a pair of shorts that are a little bit shorter, just to give like the look that I'm looking for, just so that I feel like the proportions are properly balanced, because the shirt is more oversized. Having a longer pair of shorts, it can start to look like I'm just kind of drowning in the outfit, even though they're shorts, if that makes that sense. I do like the shorts. I have worn them a ton, but I will admit that usually if I'm reaching for the shirt, I'm not reaching for these shorts to go with it. I'm going with another pair of shorts that I've already made. Next, we are going to talk about my absolute favorite makeup this summer, and that is the VikiSews Lexi dress. This dress is a stunner. I'd pinned an image on Pinterest of this House of CB dress, and I really loved the way that the dress was styled, but I also loved the style lines of the dress. I went on to find a couple more images within this same silhouette of dress that I've been pinning and different ways to wear it, and I was thinking of how I was going to create this dress on my own, and then VikiSews released the Lexi dress pattern, and I snagged it up and made it immediately. This dress has an accentuated straight waist, a low v-neck halter top situation, and an open back. On the product images, it shows the dress as like more of a midi length. However, on me, and I've made this dress a couple times now, it always falls at a maxi length, but I'm okay with that. I've yet to feel the need to take off a little bit of length to give more of that midi look. I feel like the way that it's falling on me, which is more of a maxi, just adds to the drama of the dress and the silhouette, and I tend to really enjoy that. The VikiSews website has this dress listed at an intermediate skill set, and I would say that that is fair. While again, the techniques are not that challenging, they do require a certain level of skill and patience. I would say that if you are an adventurous beginner and you're wanting to get into this pattern, that you should make a mock-up. Make the dress once, go through the techniques, take your time to get the fit down, and then make it in the good fabric. I would say that even if you're not a beginner seamstress, because my experience with this dress was the first time that I made it, I was a little bit overly confident. I cut into the good fabric and I made the dress, and it was quite the disaster. So let's talk about that. In terms of the way that VikiSews patterns fit me, on their size chart, their largest size is 52. I am a 50, like per my measurements. However, their 50s are very tricky for me. Either they're too small or they're just not right in certain areas, and there's just not enough wiggle room for me to tailor it to my body. So what I do now with VikiSews patterns is I will order one size up, which for me would be the 52, and then I will fit the dress down. I will take in what I need to take in, I'll add what I need to add, but I will then fit the dress to my body. This dress though has exceeded all of my expectations for summer. I have worn it so much. I've taken it with me on vacation. I wear it at least once a week while I'm home. I feel like it's just such a fun dress to play with and style up, because the silhouette of the dress can lean a little bit dressy, but I found that I can really casual it down and give it more of like an urban sporty vibe, which I love. I love being able to dip my toe in both of those worlds style wise. I did, for this one in particular, use a black 100% linen that I got from our dearly departed Joann's. Staying on the wind's wave, I sewed another VikiSews Lexi dress, and this one was done out of scraps. So as I mentioned prior, the first time I had sewn this dress, I actually messed it up really bad, and I used a fabric that I really liked. So that was really devastating. With that dress, I never actually got to the point to where I attached the skirt panels, because I was trying so hard to fix the bodice. And once I realized that that wasn't going to work and I was going to scrap it, I was left with these giant skirt panels that I could not bring myself to throw away. So here's what I did instead. I pulled out this striped seersucker fabric from my stash. I got this from Warehouse Fabrics in Dallas, Texas. Both of these came from Warehouse Fabrics in Dallas, Texas. And then I recut the bodice per all of the things that I know need to be done to get it to fit correctly. And then I reattached it to the skirt patterns. And I feel like what I got in the end is a very whimsical version, because this fabric and this fabric didn't mesh as well as I thought it would in my head originally. I went ahead and I added a little bow detail to tie it all together. What I'm gonna have to do with this bow detail is go in and tack down parts of the bow so that it sits up and it stops dropping like this, but that's a super easy fix. Like I said, this version of the dress is just very whimsical and I absolutely adore it. This one makes me feel like a little, like, you know, like fairy, and I tend to dress this one up a little more into that girly aesthetic because I just feel like that's the vibe of the dress. With this, I'm most proud of the fact that I was able to reuse the skirt patterns from the skirt panels from the original dress so that that didn't go to waste. And this fabric had been sitting in my stash for quite some time, so it was also nice to pull that out and get some use out of it. For the skirt panels, the reason I was so devastated is because it's just such a cool print. If you're like an OG viewer, the last time you saw this print would have been me messing up on another dress, which is kind of devastating. Like, I've tried to make multiple things with this fabric, and each time I just get a little bit overzealous, and I think that I can do a little more than I truly can, and I ended up messing up the fabric. So this time, luckily enough, I was able to save it, and putting it into the Lexi dress, I know that I'm gonna get lots of wear out of it. Like I said with this one, I kept everything the same construction wise. The only difference is I did the pockets as inseam pockets and not as the way that the VikiSews pattern calls for the pockets to be constructed. So the Lexi dress was actually the second VikiSews dress pattern that I worked on this season. The first pattern that I worked on this season was the Rosie dress. If you can't tell already, I'm really having a moment with these like hip go-day situations. So for the Rosie dress, I was going to be attending a wedding this summer, and I wanted a wedding guest dress that just felt special and beautiful. I tried looking for dresses in the store, and me being like a size 16, 18, I really feel like none of the super cool, unique designs really come in my size. And if they do, they just don't do it for me. I feel like that's the best way to say it. So I don't love shopping for dresses, especially special occasion dresses, but I typically don't make special occasion clothing. So doing this project in particular was a bit of a challenge for me. For the Rosie dress, I ended up pairing it with this gorgeous brocade fabric that I got from, the name of the fabric store is escaping me, but it's in Dallas, Texas. I'll put it up on the screen. And then I lined it with like a soft pink fabric, again from our dearly departed Joann's, and it is just the most stunning, magnificent dress. When I was looking at inspiration pictures for what I wanted to make for this dress, I was really drawn to the silhouette with like the hip go-day situation. I just felt like it would do what I like my dresses to do, which is give the illusion that my waist is small, but my hips are very voluptuous and very full. And it definitely did that. In terms of sewing difficulty, while I will say that this dress isn't as involved as the Lexi dress, it is still an intermediate sewing pattern. It does have a lining, so the dress is fully lined, and the way that the dress is closed is like you attach the front to the back, and then you close it at the arm side in a way that I would fail if I attempted to describe, because it's just so confusing. It is unlike any closing construction method that I have used, but I do love the finish and the effect of it. The longest portion of this project for me in terms of sewing it, apart from fitting the dress, was actually sewing it correctly, because like I said, it's a construction method that I've never seen before. It feels foreign to me. It was very finicky, but in the end it did give a really polished result. The hem of the dress also has a blind stitch finish, which I chose to do on my machine, and I feel like was very successful. But again, that was a technique that I'd never used before. The dress is fully lined, and the lining, the zipper is enclosed in between the lining, so that also took a little bit of precision. All of the techniques of the dress though, I feel like definitely make it worth it. With this dress, similar to the last dress, I purchased a size 52, and then I tailored it to fit me, and I feel like it fits me like a glove. The only regret that I have with this dress is the fabric choice. Hear me out. I think the fabric choice is absolutely beautiful. I think it was stunning for the occasion, but there's something about brocade that just makes it really hard to translate into the everyday. The dress is a little too short to be worn in a setting where I'd wear dressier dresses like church on Sunday, but it's a little bit too fancy to wear with like everyday wear. I've tried pairing it with sneakers, I've tried pairing it with boots, and she's really a dress that wants to be paired with a cute pair of heels, a simple pair of earrings, and like a hair down look. And that's just not me every day. I rarely wear heels. They're typically not my vibe, you know? And so I'm really struggling. I've really struggled with being able to style this dress outside of the specific occasion that I created it for, but I do love it, and I am going to keep it in my closet. The solution is I'm just going to remake the Rosie dress out of a denim. When I had originally posted this dress, I posted a picture or a video of me wearing the dress inside out, and someone had commented on how cool the dress would look with like exposed seams. So I want to recreate this dress in a raw denim and then have all of the seaming exposed and let that wash and fray and get a little bit ratty over time. I think that would be a really, really fun dress to make. I probably, if I were to do that version of the dress, would not line it, keep the invisible zipper, and just finish the neckline and the arm size off with a thin piece of bias tape, which is one of my favorite ways of finishing necklines anyway. Would you believe me if I told you I just went to the grocery store, picked up a kiddo from school, and I went back? Because I did. I say that to say the lighting might be different because it's literally like an hour later from that last make, but let's continue. So, keeping along the lines of wins, I have, this Jamison skirt that I made. I had this pattern cut out from like late winter, early spring, and I just could not bring myself to sew it, as I said in the video. If you've seen my what I've worn this week videos, then you would have seen this skirt already. But yeah, I had it cut out and I just couldn't motivate myself to do it, and finally I did it, and here it is in all of its glory. Let's get into the details. The Jamison skirt is a sewing pattern that I made myself and I have released. I will always have it linked in the description box below if you're interested in taking a peek. I paired it with a chambray that I got from our dearly departed Joann's. It was a part of their collab with Lucky brand, and it is just beautiful. It is a cotton tencel blend. Initially it had more of a sheen than it has now. It seems that it's kind of like wearing off through washing and wearing, but I really do not mind that. I like it to be a little bit more matte finish. This is, I want to say, view A of that pattern, which just has one slit and then a densely gathered ruffle to go with it. The inspiration behind this make was just wanting a more summer-esque version of the Jamison skirt. This pattern was released in the late fall, early winter, and so a lot of the versions of it that I made were intended to be worn in that season, whether it was color or the fabric that I used. I just wanted one that felt a little bit more appropriate for the season at hand, and so I went ahead and I made that one. I will say, because of the paisley print, I don't necessarily treat it as a neutral in the way that I imagined I would. I'm still a little bit more selective over what I pair with it because it's so busy. I usually try and go for like a more exaggerated top, whether that's a corset or a lace top, just something with a little bit more personality to match the personality of the skirt, if that makes sense. Last unexpected win, and one that I've ended up wearing a lot more than I initially thought I would, is another one of these sets basically. So this is another one of the simplicity patterns. This is the shirt. It is in this gorgeous fruit print and like this charmeuse silky fabric. It's a polyester, but it feels like so soft to the touch and just has the most amazing drape to it. With this one, I paired again with the babe shorts, but this version of the babe shorts is more of it's like a fuller pair of shorts. You can see there's a lot of fabric in the bottom of it, so it just has more of a floaty effect. Almost could kind of look like a skirt if you're not looking too closely. Just like a nice bit of swoosh, and I think that the fabric pairing for these two pieces was absolutely perfect. I've already gone into all of the details of making the top, what to look out for construction wise and everything. I would say it was pretty much the same for this one. I didn't run into like any pitfalls or anything like that. I feel like the fabric paired absolutely perfectly with it. For the buttons on this one, I went with these like little tortoiseshell ones, and I feel like they're just so perfect. They're a little bit different, a little bit unique and fun, but still subtle enough to where they're not taking away from the busyness of the fabric or not adding any more to the shirt because the fabric is so busy. When I made these two pieces, I was preparing for vacation, and so I wanted to do like a little fruit collection. I got through 3 pieces of the fruit collection, these two included, and then I abandoned it because while I love the look and feel of this fabric, I absolutely hated sewing with it. By the third make, I was just so over the slippery fabric that we called the fruit collection quits at that point. A little sneak peek into the future, I do want to make one more pair to go with this, and that is a pair of palazzo pants in this same fabric so that I can keep wearing this shirt throughout the fall and winter, and then once summer rolls back around, pull out the shorts again. We talked about our wins and our surprises, and we're gonna segue into the projects that I'm satisfied with but not crazy in love with. And since we left off on the fruity collection, we'll keep on with the last piece that was a part of that fruity collection, which is this dress. This is the Violaine dress. I believe it's a French name. In English it would be pronounced based off of the spelling Violaine, but when I looked up the pronunciation of the dress, everything came up in French and it was Violaine. I think I'm saying that right. But it is this dress. It is a long dress. The hanger doesn't really do it justice, but we'll go through the pattern details. I'll show it on you, on me, all that good stuff. So this is a loose fitting trapeze style dress that has inseam pockets, and the top edge is finished off with a piece of elastic to keep it nice and snug and close to the body. Again, for this dress, I went with the fruity print. This is a silky charmeuse fabric that I got from our dearly departed Joann's. The inspiration behind this dress was that I had been seeing it a lot on Instagram in different fabrics, and I just loved the simplicity of the silhouette. I feel like it leaned a little bit more into like that elegant vibe, and I definitely wanted to try it out. It's not a silhouette or a style of dress that I have worn before or that I have any of in my closet, and it looked simple enough to where if I tried it out and it didn't work, I hadn't invested loads of time into making the dress, so I'd feel no way about it. Speaking of the time that it took to make this dress, because I veered away from the pattern instructions and just kind of did what I wanted to do, I also omitted the pockets. This dress took 2 hours to make. Like I said, I veered away from the instructions. I did not include the pockets. I did not finish the dress the way that the pattern called for it to be finished. I just kind of like went with what I knew and what felt right, and so I was done with this pattern, and like I said, literally 2 hours, which I love. I do regret not adding the pockets, and I have half a mind to just open up the side seams and add some pockets into the dress. More so for pictures than anything, if I'm being honest, because I feel like when I'm trying to pose in it, I don't know what to do with my hands. Realistically, pockets in this dress wouldn't really be that functional because they have to just kind of hang loose and they're not anchored to anything, which was the reason that I chose not to add them in the first place. But I do miss having them in the dress, if I'm being honest. VikiSews has this dress rated at suitable for beginners, and I would completely agree with that. I will say that, again, true to VikiSews fashion, the pattern construction is a little bit funky. When I was looking it over, it's not the way that, again, I would go about adding pockets. I feel like if it's going to be in the side seam, just make a side seam pocket. But the dress, per the instructions, does call for it to be French seamed, I believe, and so that takes a few more steps when you're adding pockets into a French seam dress. Still, it's a little bit funky. If you're interested in the pattern, I would just be mindful of that. Looking back, like I said, I actually made a lot more than I had originally thought I did. All of these makes spanned over the course of spring and then into summer, bringing us to where we are right now. This year, I am very conscious of the fact that I don't want to rush the seasons. There's been a lot of talk about it, and I do agree. Like, summer is not over. We still have about 4 weeks of summer left, and so I'm not allowing myself to go into the headspace of fall just yet. So I do have a couple more things that I want to sew for the end of summer. Maybe I'll do like a plans video, maybe not, we'll see. Honestly, my sewing motivation has been pretty low these past couple of seasons. I've been really into thrifting and just kind of like hanging out and wearing and styling a lot of the things that I've made, not super into like continuously like making new things and pumping out new garments like I'm usually doing, which is okay. I feel like our creativity can go in lulls. Sometimes you have highs where you just want to make everything, and then you have lows where you want to make nothing at all. For the month of September, which is right around the corner, I am going to be doing like a low buy month or a no buy month, and those are usually the times where I'm making a lot, because if I'm doing a low buy, then I'm not going out and perusing the shops, because that's a horrible way to maintain a low buy. So the amount of things that I make probably will increase as the year progresses, but this is where we're at right now. VikiSews was definitely like the hero of my sewing. All of their patterns are super cool. I posted a couple makes over on Instagram, and they actually reached out to me after I had made all of these things and gave me a discount code, which I will include in the description box below. And that discount code can be stacked on top of their promotions, which I think is really cool. So if I were you, I'd hold on to the discount code until they're running some sort of sale. Usually they'll have like 30 to 50% off, and then you can stack another 25% off on top of that to get the most bang for your buck. Also, I released one pattern this year during like the spring summer section, and I feel like that takes a lot of the creativity, like energies that I have. I do have a couple of patterns that I'm tinkering around with for like a fall release. So we'll see what that does to like my productivity when I do like my fall sewing pattern, fall things that I've made wrap up. But this is where we stand today. Now I want to hear from you. What have you been making this season? I want you to share your wins and even your fails in the comments. I'd love to chat it up. And until next time, stay beautiful, make something. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.